I'm currently in a little bit of a romantasy mood. It's snowing. Not a lot is happening. It's really slow. You have forced me down a chaotic route that I absolutely never, ever, ever would have gone down knowingly. It's just so easy to fall into, and I'm so compelled. The toxicity of their relationship I have always loved. Hello, my guys. Welcome to the start of a brand new week. And honestly, I am just thrilled to be here starting a new weekly reading vlog. It's been a while and I'm feeling out of practice. I was in Egypt for like 10 days and then I went straight into like a reading intensive episode of Shelve It or Scrap It, which if you haven't seen it, I did like a try a chapter version. I will link it. And I am just so tired of starting things and not finishing them. And I'm so happy to just be in like a normal weekly reading vlog right now where we can get some stuff read, because I've only read 2 books so far in November, and it makes sense because I've been away and because of Shelve It or Scrap It, but I just want to read something. Like, we're definitely going to be playing a catch up, and I'm currently in a little bit of a romantasy mood, which is fun because I have quite a bit on my TBR and I feel like I haven't actually been in the mood for it for quite some time now. I am also participating in the Clear Your Shit readathon, which is created and hosted by Andy from Mouse Reads. It is like a narrative based readathon where you have the full list of prompts available, but they're released with like a little bit of narrative at the pace of like 3 a week. And I am currently like loosely following along with Clear Your Shit and doubling up where I can on the prompts that are currently available to me. So I'm not moving ahead of the narrative when I'm like slotting books into the prompts, but I do need to make myself a little bingo board so I can keep track of the prompts, because honestly at this point I've only read 2 books, so it's not like a massive deal, but I don't really know where I'm up to. So maybe I'll do that today actually, because I am going to be focusing on some like illustration work on my iPad because I need to sort out some bookmarks for Patreon. But in terms of the book that I'm currently reading, because I did start one in the background of Shelve It or Scrap It, assuming that I would have a little bit more time to read, seeing as I was only sampling books and would end up like progressing further through this, and that just never happened. But that book is A Kiss of Iron by Claire Sager. So I am reading this on my Kindle. It is available on Kindle Unlimited, but I went to Rare earlier this year and I picked up a paperback copy because I'm a terrible person and I couldn't resist. This one is also my Patreon pick for, I think it's the month of August now. Yeah, because I read October and I need to read August, September and November, which are all romantasy picks, so maybe we'll get to them in this video. That would be quite impressive if I managed to read all that, but I am very much in like a hibernation reading mood. So I mean, crazier things have happened, but I had this one signed and personalized to me, and I just love indie paperbacks. Like, I love the weight, the quality, and honestly, the worst thing about how many fantasy romance series are getting picked up recently by publishers is that we're losing the indie paperback, which is my preferred format, if I'm being honest. But I am on page 135 of this, which I think is chapter 21. It is a pretty quick read and it is a pretty easy read while still being very engaging, which is something I feel I very much need right now. And it is following a woman who is she has like a alter ego as like a highwaywoman. And she is married to this guy. Like, she had an arranged marriage to an older man who lives in a different place to her, and she is currently running the estate on behalf of both of them. But it is just her and 2 servants because her husband has a gambling problem. He's essentially just a terrible person as well. And so he's running the estate and all of their finances into the ground. Meanwhile, his wife, who is called Kat, is maintaining this estate, like trying to keep it profitable just to keep the estate running. And in the background of this, she's also robbing rich people and selling their jewelry to a fence. Now, we start off this book where she robs a Fey man and she takes an orrery from him that he perceives to be incredibly valuable. But before she can take it to her fence and sell it, she is approached by these royal not courtiers, like messengers from the Queen saying that she has been summoned to court to become one of the Queen's ladies in waiting. Now, she thinks that this is really odd because she's like a minor noble at best, but she goes along and she's pulled into the office of, I think he's like the royal advisor or something similar, or like the royal sorcerer, and she is tasked with spying on a Fae noble to obtain his secrets, because at this time all of these eligible Fae males are circling the Queen like sharks because she is available for marriage. So this guy, I can't remember why, which I feel like might be important. I can't remember why she's been tasked with spying on this guy, but her task is to seduce him, get close to him, and learn all of her secrets. And lo and behold, when they first meet at this important royal ball, she finds out that he is actually the guy that she stole the orrery from, and he's still looking for it and asking about it, which implies to her that it is more important than she originally thought when she stole it and just assumed it was like a golden bauble. So like I said, it's really easy to read. The chapters are short, it's not too overly complex, the world building isn't overly dense, but it is very, very easy to fall into, very engaging, and I'm having a good time with it. I am wondering if my opinion will maybe change as we move throughout this book, now that I'm giving it my full attention and it's not just like a very welcome escape from trying chapters of like millions of books. But I don't know, I'm having a good time with it. So at this point it's looking very, very positive for me, and I do hope I enjoy this one because I would like to get the rest of the books in this series in these indie paperbacks, just in case there's a chance of this being picked up by a publisher in the future, meaning that I would end up with like an unmatching set or just like inferior paperback copies. So I'm gonna set myself up with my audiobook, which I also need to touch upon. I'm currently listening to Dinner for Vampires by Bethany Joy Lenz, which is a autobiography from one of the stars of One Tree Hill, who is talking about her experience on One Tree Hill, but mainly her experience in a cult, which coincided with the time that she was starring as Haley in One Tree Hill. I only have the audio for this, it's available on Everand, so I don't know like how many pages into it I am, but I'm on chapter 18 out of 32, I think, and I have 2 hours and 21 minutes left on 1.5 times speed. I'm having an okay time with it at the minute, like it's reasonably enjoyable, but I don't think it's as gripping as I necessarily expected it to be going into it. But I'm committed to finishing it, and it is narrated by Bethany Joy Lenz as well, which is what I really like about autobiographies that are in audio format. It is my preferred way of ingesting them. So I think at least for the next couple of hours, I'm going to settle down with my iPad, listen to my audiobook, but then a little bit later on, if I'm still working on iPad stuff, I'm going to go into the living room, I think, and either watch some YouTube while I work or catch up on season 2 of Interview with a Vampire, which I've just started. And that first episode, oh my god, it's slayed. What are you doing? Get down, come on. Come on. So I have finished my bookmark, which is great because it's something that's kind of been weighing on my mind for the last week or so that I knew I needed to do. So I'm really glad that I knuckled down and got that out of the way, and I have sent that off to print now. And while I was sending it off to print, I actually finished my audiobook, which was, of course, Dinner for Vampires by Bethany Joy Lenz. So I don't want to devalue anybody's life experience by slapping like a 3-star rating on their life story, you know? But I feel like I went into this book with a different set of expectations than what it actually was. And for that reason, I wasn't as invested in it as I expected to be. And Bethany Joy Lenz actually says this herself in the epilogue of this, that when she says to people that she was in a cult, they're always like, oh my god, which one was it? Like, which cult were you a part of? Expecting her to say one of the big, like, sensationalized famous ones that did some really crazy stuff and ended up like really popular and got a lot of media attention. And when she's she's like, oh yeah, it was just some like religious Bible group from the Pacific Northwest, people lose interest. And that is definitely kind of what I expected going into this book, based on the sensationalism that surrounds cults. Because like I said, when I wanted to read this, I am fascinated by cults. Obviously, there are a scope of cults. They're not all big, famous, glitzy and glam. And that does not devalue Bethany Joy Lenz's experience and like how she experienced some of the most harrowing things in her life while she was a part of this cult. And if you want the kind of like TLDR, but without spoilers, so not actually a TLDR, essentially a couple of years before she started working on One Tree Hill, she ended up joining this Bible study group that provided her with a lot of like stability and family and support in, I think it was when she was 19, so like pretty much during the most formative years of her life, when she was really discovering herself. And it ended up kind of just taking over her life and making all of her personal and her career decisions throughout this time that she was a part of it. And it was the entirety of the time that she was on One Tree Hill. She didn't leave until after One Tree Hill had concluded. So it really was like a significant part of her life. And her marriage was associated with the cult, orchestrated by the cult. And the marriage itself ended up, partly because of the cult, but also partly because of the person, ended up being quite abusive, controlling and manipulative, which was ultimately played into the kind of realization to her that she was in a cult. And it was definitely an interesting listening experience, but I guess it just wasn't as dramatic as I expected it to be. But because somebody's life isn't dramatic, like I don't feel like I should rate it lower, you know? So I'd probably give this about a 4-star rating. I did enjoy it. I think something that I can definitely say that is a negative, because I listened to the audiobook, is that some of the voices that Bethany Joy Lenz did for some of the, not characters, but like people in this story, like people who are in this cult, really grayed on me. I wasn't a fan. But yeah, I'm glad that I listened to it, because I've been anticipating that one for quite some time as well. At the time that she was in the show, apparently there were rumors that she was in a cult, but it was never like widely publicized or anything. And I personally, not that I'm like a massive stan or anything, and while I love One Tree Hill, I don't think about it more than, well, to be fair, I probably do think about it at least once every month or a couple of months, but I'm not like a massive One Tree Hill fangirl. So I had no idea until this book was announced that she was in a cult at all. So now that I finished that one, I do need to pick up a new audiobook. So I think I'm going to go and run down to the library quickly, because the hold on the book, my next library book, has come in, and I like to have the physical copy so that I can like follow along and also mark my page in the physical. So I think I am gonna go grab that. I'll let you know what it is. It's not like a big surprise or anything, and it's not particularly exciting, but it is something that I should start very, very soon if I have a hope of finishing it by the time that I need to. So while I've done with my bookmark and my audiobook at the same time, I'm just gonna go to the library now, because the original plan was to go on Wednesday, but I mean, there's no time like the present, am I right? I am brewing a cup of tea. It is an editing day for me today, but I'm doing it like Pomodoro style, where I take little breaks in between, because I do have 2.5 hours of footage for the last episode of Shelve It or Scrap It, and there is pretty much no b-roll in there. So I think it's gonna be a long one, but I did go to the library yesterday. Time kind of got away from me. I picked up Knife of Dreams by Robert Jordan, which is book 11 in the Wheel of Time series. The live show for this is going to be in the second week in December, I think, like the second Sunday maybe. And it is a thick one. Like, we are back into the chunky installments in this series. So I really need to start it. And I did actually start it on my walk this morning. And I got like 10 minutes in and I rewound the prologue to the beginning because I wasn't paying attention. And there's an app actually that goes with this series where you can click on the book that you're reading, then go through a list of characters, and it will tell you everything that that character has done up to that point, but in like a very short paragraph. So what I actually need to do is I need to start this while I'm at home with better access to the app, because I was like walking Brie and trying to pay attention to her because she's a demon, but also like scrolling through this app and like reading the character things. So I need to kind of like sit down and focus to read this, because we're at the point in the series where it's supposedly, I'm not doubting it, but it's where people say that it gets good again. So I kind of want to be clued in and caught up and really paying attention for when that allegedly happens. But last night really got derailed. I just noticed I've got some Greek yogurt on the counter from this morning, so I'll clean that off. But we got derailed a little bit last night because I'm currently car hunting. So if you did not see my story from last week, if you don't know what's happening, everything in my life right now is broken. I came back from Egypt knowing that I would have to sort a bunch of problems like my bookshelves. Still need to sort out the bedroom drawer situation because I still have not found the perfect set and a price that I'm willing to pay. My car, just before I left, I took it to my dad's because it was making a weird noise, which he thinks is like a wheel bearing, but also my head gasket is on its way out. And if you know anything about cars, you will know that the head gasket is not a small thing to replace. And we always said that if the head gasket went, because of how cheap my car was when I bought it, there's kind of no point replacing it, and I may as well get a new car because I have been due one for quite some time. We're looking, because my dad knows a bit about cars. My dad does all of the repairs on my cars, so we're going for like the private sale route, so my dad can go check it over, make sure everything's absolutely fine, and I can buy a car that's a little bit cheaper than getting it from a garage, but still with confidence. But what that entails is that if he finds a car on Facebook Marketplace that he thinks is good, he's gonna send it to me. I have to send a message, and then we have to be ready to go immediately, because when there's a good car on the market for a good price, it goes like that. Especially the kind of cars that I'm looking for, which my budget is quite small relatively, like I could go up, but my dad pointed out to me, I don't really use my car. Like I use it to go to my nail appointments, I use it to go to my dad's, I use it to run errands. If me and Curtis go out together, he tends to drive, and the reason for that is because he doesn't like being a passenger in my car. So in all fairness, that could change. But right now there's no point me spending a bunch of money on a real fancy car that I barely drive. The kind of cars that I'm looking at are ones that are also really good for like first time drivers, like smaller cars, efficient cars, cheaper cars. And because of that, you gotta be quick. So my dad sent me a message yesterday, and I sent a message, and we haven't been having a lot of luck with people actually messaging us back, our cars being available by the time that we've got to them. But this lady that's selling this car messaged me back when I was about to start making dinner. So my dad called and he was like, well, I've messaged her as well, because she'd put like a few listings up for this car. So he rang me and he was like, well, it's only like 5 minutes away from me, so I'll go and look. And I was like, yeah, sure, that's fine, just let me know. After I'd eaten dinner, I was like, fine, I'll come. And I had to drive, or Curtis had to drive because I don't have a car right now. The 35 minutes there, we spent like an hour there looking at the car, and I have decided that I am going to be buying it. I'm not celebrating that fact just yet though, because they obviously, with a private sale, anything could happen. They could decide on a whim tomorrow that they don't want to sell it to me. But essentially right now we are waiting for them to find a replacement car, because that's the car like that they use, and now that it's being sold to me, they need to go find one. And then when they found one, which should hopefully by the end of this week, I will go and pick up that one. So when I got back home last night, it was like 9 p.m. Curtis still had to do the dishes. He currently has a wisdom tooth infection at the minute as well. So he's not feeling too great. And I had to get my workout in. Then there was the pressure in the boiler had gone weird, and Curtis had to like bleed a bunch of radiators. And then I just went to bed. So I didn't get much reading done or anything, which is sad, because I just want to cozy up with my book. But I'm hoping that today is the day. I'm still going to do my workout later this evening, and I'm spending all of today editing. But I'm hoping, because I'm working like kind of Pomodoro style, I'm hoping to get in a few chapters of my book throughout the day as well. I am really excited to work out at the minute though, because one of the things that broke when I was coming back from Egypt, one of the things that I needed to fix when I got back was that my Fitbit was on its way out. So that is actually the first thing that I replaced. And I now have a Garmin watch, which I'm really enjoying, but it only arrived on Sunday. So I haven't like used it to track my workouts properly yet. And yesterday I did manage to get a workout in, but it was like a much shorter and much more moderate one than I would typically do on a Monday. So I'm excited to see like kind of how it tracks a higher intensity workout a little bit later on. But anyway, I didn't really expect to be chatting with you guys for that long. I thought this would be just a real quick little update. But I think it's because like I went to Egypt, obviously, so that vlog was focused on travel, and then I did shelve it or scrap it, where I literally just stuck to the books. So all of this stuff has been happening that I would normally tell to you guys as it's happening, and I haven't been able to. So that was, if you care at all, I know some people don't, but if you care, that is what's going on with everything that's currently broken in my life. Providing I get the car by the end of the week, I will have fixed 2 things. I have a solution for my bookshelves, but I'll let you know kind of when I actually get the materials and the supplies. I'm really excited about it. And then I am hoping to sort out the drawers soon. And the computer is more like, I'm thinking towards the middle of next year, is going to become something that I actually really have to replace, which is great. Because buying a new cars, even old cars, this is a 10-year-old car that I'm buying, it's still 4 times as expensive. Yeah, still just short of 4 times more expensive than my car that I currently have when I bought that, which was 9 years ago in February, I think. So yeah, new cars, even cheap ones, not cheap these days. And then if I had to replace my computer on top of that, that would not be good. That would be quite painful, especially coming up to Christmas. So I'm glad that that at least is like something that doesn't need doing right now. I have my tea, which I've left over there, so I need to go get. I've made Nutella pancake tea, I think, today, which is my favorite Bird and Blend one. It's a Pancake Day exclusive, so I always stock up. And I've edited like 20 minutes of my video, so I'm going to read a couple of chapters of my book before I go back and do a bit more editing. I'm cold today. I've lit a candle as well because I want to be like in the zone, and I'm also leaving my phone at my desk so that I can't just constantly pick it up for no reason.
Maybe not Cincinnati. How about Shreveport?
My daddy took me and Paul there to fish. There's a drawbridge there. He burned on the bridge. Deeply excited and driven to form new conclusions about myself and that period life in the abstract.
2535 resistance. KS 9100. The song is so soulful, the music is so beautiful, the rhythm is so powerful. My man Mikey Missouri, 400 rise. She said 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. When I get back to the beat, stay up, stay up.
You need to get on and do it. I know the lighting looks like it's 7 p.m, but it's 9:30 a.m. I am supposed to be having a little bit of a filming day today, but look at the weather. It's snowing. I don't think it's gonna stick because the ground is too wet, but it is like a good heavy snowfall. So I am feeling some type of way today. I am a little bit all over the place, if I'm being honest. So this afternoon, I am going to take a minute. I'm going to put on a true crime podcast because of course that helps anxiety, right? And I'm going to do some baking. So I'm currently in like Christmas prep mode when it comes to baking at the minute, which also kind of stressful. This is not the easiest baking that I could do by any means, but for Christmas this year I'm going to be making like turkey sandwiches for me and Curtis at home, and then we're going to be going to my dad's in the evening and we're going to be having a little bit of a buffet. Now for the buffet I am going to be providing a cheesecake for dessert. I normally buy one, but this year, now that I know how to make cheesecake, I'm going to be making one, and I'm going to be trialing that at the weekend because it's a different kind than I've made before, and also it includes like piping bags and stuff, which is something that I don't typically use because I'm not a patient, precise, perfectionist kind of person generally. But the other thing that I'm going to be making, and if this goes terribly wrong, it's absolutely fine because I haven't promised anybody this, it's just something that I would like to make, but I would like to make some sort of like Christmas themed sharing bread. The only problem is that I cannot make bread because it intimidates me. Like I said, I'm not patient, I'm not a perfectionist. It takes a long time to make bread. It's not easy. So today I am going to be trying to make a focaccia with the help of the sponsor of today's video, which is once again the wonderful Skillshare. Now I have been telling you over the last few months that I have spied the baking section of Skillshare. If you don't know what Skillshare is, they are an online learning platform that contain thousands of classes across a wide range of disciplines. Now I feel like they are most commonly known for the classes that they do in things like productivity, photography, marketing, videography, that kind of almost tech stuff, but they also have classes in art. I have recently learned a bunch of new crochet stitches using Skillshare. They have baking and lots of different types of baking, but for me the two most interesting areas are bread and pastry because they really intimidate me. Typically because I'm not a patient person, when it comes to things like baking and cooking, I normally just find a recipe, I don't even read it in advance, and I just roll with it and I make it up as I go along. But bread and pastry are a little bit more of a science. So I wanted something that gave me like a video course, like step by step, this is what you're doing, this is why you're doing it, and I have found the perfect class. I'm currently in the third section of it. I have actually watched this in advance as well to make sure what I know I'm getting myself into. So I'm actually prepping this now to bake it tomorrow. But this is the Baking Basics Make Perfect Breads and Pastries Every Time class by Umba Ahmad. Now, Umba Ahmad is a baker. She has her own bakery. She was a scientist first, so she knows like what she's talking about on like a foundational level that she's kind of brought to baking. And this class not only includes focaccia, but it also includes rough puff, which is something that I kind of may follow up on because like I said, I am intimidated by pastry as well. So I've essentially watched the first 4 sections of this ahead, which is the basics, like the introduction, how to make the dough, and then the toppings. But if you guys would like to check out Skillshare for yourself, they are perfect for anybody who is a beginner in anything. Like this class is specifically tailored to beginners, but also somebody like me who has a little bit of baking and a little bit of cooking knowledge but wants to develop those skills. It is perfect for me as well. And Skillshare are also perfect for people who have either maybe worked in a professional industry before and are looking to brush up on skills, or are looking to just kind of tack on skills to what they've already got. So if you guys would like to check out Skillshare for yourself, if there are any Christmas crafts that you're looking to get into, if you want to pick up a skill, if you want to brush up on one that you've already got, or maybe like me, you just want to de-stress and make some bread, then I'm happy to let you guys know that the first 500 people who click on the link right at the top of my description box will get a free 1-month trial to Skillshare Premium. Once again, a big thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Perfect timing actually, because the first step of this class was to make sure that my yeast was working. I don't know how well you guys can see. You had to leave it for 5 to 7 minutes to see if it activates. And this one is activating, which is great news and means that I can get on with adding the dry ingredients I need to start making my dough. I am really scared. I don't know if this is gonna go well. I'm really, truly, I'm not kidding when I say I'm not a patient person, so keep your fingers crossed for me.
This is about is putting dough into a fire. Focaccia bakes at a much higher temperature than with the water, the yeast, and the honey, and then mix it up. Again, no special tools are required, and the gluten is actually what creates chew. So the more that you work gluten, the more that you're kind of aggressive with it, the chewier something becomes. You can put it into the second bowl with olive oil and let it sit for about 4 hours so that it can rise on its own.
So this is what I have. I am not confident about the olive oil that I put in it because I ended up transferring it into the smaller bowl that I was using, and then it was too small. So I put it back into this one, but the olive oil was already in it. So like, is it too incorporated? Is it still just like lubricating it? I'm not sure. But I needed the lunchbox instead of a bowl because my fridge is actually pretty full at the minute. So I know that if I had put it in my mixing bowl was 100% not going to be getting in the fridge. So I am going to put some plastic wrap over this, and then I'm going to put it in the fridge overnight, come back to it in the morning and see how it's doing before we go into the second round of rising. And then I'm going to go and get my workout in, because part of the reason why I feel so all over the place today is that I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know my plan for the day. And I've been trying to decide whether I should do Patreon sprints today, because I would actually rather do them tomorrow just in general. But I don't know like what's happening with this car. Like, if they say they've got a new car, they want me to come pick up the one that I'm buying, then I have to be able to like go. So I'm kind of just like feel like I'm on edge, just waiting for something constantly. But I'm pretty sure that I will not be going to pick up that car tonight. And I've actually now kind of got to a place in the day where I'm happy that I will be able to do sprints tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and schedule those and then get my workout in so that I'm all set for a cozy reading evening tonight. So it is just past 10 p.m. and I want absolutely nothing more than to get myself snuggled up in bed. But I have just finished Patreon sprints and I need you guys to know that I am having an amazing time with A Kiss of Iron by Claire Sager. I am enjoying this far more than I anticipated. Not because I expected it to be bad, but just because it has been so long since I have been this like swept away by a book. And it's not like going to be 5 stars or anything. Like, I know that it's not giving me a 5-star feeling. It's just very, very compelling to me. Like, I'm excited to pick it up. I'm getting sucked into it as soon as I pick it up. I've read like 150 pages in sprints today. I think I was live for about 3 hours and 40 minutes. So for a pretty long time, but usually in sprints I'm kind of like distracted, I can be fidgety, especially getting into it, but I wanted nothing more than to get under a blanket on the couch and read this book today, and I now don't have very long left. I am 462 pages in, so I have about 140 pages, which means that I'm going to be able to finish this pretty soon. I'm not going to finish it tonight because no matter how much I'm enjoying my book, as soon as my head hits that pillow, I'm going to be fighting to stay awake. You girl just loves sleep too much. What can I say? But at this point in the book, I couldn't even necessarily tell you what the plot is about because nothing's really changed. The plot has thickened, but I still don't know what direction we're going in when it comes to this series as a whole. So our main character, Kat, is undercover in this court. The spy master has recruited her to get close to the Night Queen's shadow. So I think that he's like the spy master or the assassin of one of the Fae Queens. Now, something that I have realized when I've been reading this book is that this is part of a larger world by Claire Sager, and I will get into that in a minute. But we have all of these different places in the world. The place that this is set is Albion, which is a representative of England, which I think is made quite clear throughout this. So England has a human queen. She's supposed to be half Fae, but she doesn't have any magic. So her claim to the throne is not solidified, which is why she has all of these Fae courtiers around her. It seems that the Shadow Queen is trying to form an allegiance with Albion, but the spy master thinks that there is something nefarious going on, which is why Kat is assigned to Bastion. She obviously is trying to get close to him, and he is reciprocating her interest a little bit, but obviously because this is a romance, most of the interactions between them are actually quite genuine, and they do turn romantic in nature pretty quickly in this book. However, they end up in a fake relationship kind of situation, and the relationship is more sexual than it is anything else. Like, they're just kind of fooling around. Kat comes from a background where she is married to this man. She's in this unloving marriage where she was married to a man who was older than her. She hates him. She never sees him. She would love to be divorced if that was something that was allowed for a lady of her station, especially one that doesn't have very much money and also not very much status, but is still expected to live like a traditional lady. And so she really takes this opportunity to explore herself and her sexuality with Bastion, but is kind of like denying any real growing feelings between them. Now, Bastion is your typical shadow daddy. Like, I can tell reading this book that Claire Sager has read The Bargainer, she has read ACOTAR, she has read Crescent City, and you know what? I am not mad about it. I think that the plot could be, I guess, a little bit more fleshed out because, like I said, I know that she's undercover trying to uncover his secrets. Obviously, she has secrets of her own and she has all of these reasons why she's in the situations that she's in. She's being manipulated by this spy master who is not a great guy. She's also being manipulated by her family members, as well as being regarded as like a joke around the court from some of the ladies who are a little bit jealous of how close she's getting to Bastion, and also some of the men are treating her like shit or like an object. Now, Kat has always been in a place where she's being manipulated or controlled by men, so there are strong themes of abuse that run throughout this novel, just to let you guys know if you are thinking of going into it, as well as one particular instance of animal abuse that is recurring throughout this and keeps getting brought up. So while Kat is getting to know Bastion, she's also kind of unlearning all of these things that she's assumed about men, that she's assumed about pleasure and like women's roles in society. That being said, I don't really know where this is going to go in terms of being a plot for a trilogy, because I'm obviously anticipating that all of the secrets from both of them are going to come out and it's going to end up separating them for a little bit. But I also imagine that they are going to come back together and be united against something, but at this point I have no idea what that is. This on the back is actually compared to From Blood and Ash and also Guild, which is by Raven Kennedy, and I would definitely agree on both of those fronts. I do think it has less elements of From Blood and Ash, but I think that in comparison to Guild, they have very similar pacing. Like, not a lot is happening, it's really slow. Most of the scenes in here are just different altercations, different interactions between Bastion and Kat. We have a little bit of other stuff going on in the background, but it keeps kind of indulgently coming back to these two into and situations that they get themselves into, I feel like we're building, because my interest has like peaked more the more and more like I get into this, I feel like we're building to a really strong climax in here, which is typically how Raven Kennedy's books go. Like, they're very slow. You don't mind the slowness, like you eat it all up, and then it has like this big climactic end, which I'm really hoping for the end of this one. The reason why I'm not getting a 5-star feeling from this is I think because some of the dialogue is a little bit convoluted, and it's mainly in the way that Bastian like is the guy. Like, he is the one that stands out against all of these terrible men, the one who's different. Like, he treats her better than anybody ever has. He's really good at handling her in moments like where she sinks into her trauma. He's always giving these like big speeches of devotion. Everything he says is so dramatic, and I'm living for it, but it's also very clear that it is included for me to live for it, and so it's not as seamless as I kind of would like it to be, because it's almost expected of him to say the exact right thing in the exact right moment, and for that reason it's not giving me 5 stars. But I am definitely, unless something goes drastically wrong in the end of this, 100% a 4-star read, and I am eager to read book 2, and book 3 comes out on New Year's Eve as well, so happy New Year to me. Is all I'm saying. But yeah, hopefully the last 150 pages holds up. I don't see why it wouldn't, but I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit more about this, because all I keep saying is that, oh my god, I really love it. I was getting to the point where I was going to finish this book and be like, yeah, cool, loved it, and then just moved on, so I needed to give you a bit more information.
Lay beside me, whisper softly your sweet empathy.
Oh dear.
Reflections on the
Oh dear.
border of you close to me.
The gluten starts to relax and it kind of chills out a little bit, and it just sort of like spreads through, and it's so beautiful. The gluten has really become a little bit more slack, and you can see it's also risen again. It looks beautiful and pillowy, just so delicious. Region, and I want to make the focaccia from that region with those flavors. When I think about the Mediterranean, I think about luscious.
You are someone I rely on. You make me feel real. Summer days that drift away as we lay in the field. Dandelions everywhere. Darling, make a wish.
Good morning, my guys. I'm taking the day off today because it is mine and Curtis's anniversary. It has been 9 whole years, which is crazy. But to celebrate, we are going to be going for afternoon tea at Betty's. If you've ever been to York, I'm sure you have seen Betty's, because it is an iconic tea room that we have just never been to, mainly because we're local to the area. And people like queue around the outside of the building to buy snacks and cakes and go for like afternoon tea or lunch there. So the only thing that you can pre-book is an afternoon tea, and because of the month, it's all festive themed. So I thought that we could take this opportunity, as it's a special occasion, to have ourselves a little afternoon tea and go to Betty's for the first time. So I'm really, really excited. And I'm excited that I get an opportunity to dress up, but also for a daytime activity that I don't have to be out late, which is nice. Because I just don't like being out at nighttime anymore. I would much rather go out in the day and then come home and put my pajamas on and chill out, which is pretty much the plan. And then tonight we'll either like play a game or watch a movie or something. But I'm checking in with you guys because I finished my book. I finished A Kiss of Iron and I did really, really enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. It's not a perfect book by any means, especially as we come to the end. Like, as I was saying earlier, Bastian is a little bit too perfect. He always says the right things in the right moment. He always knows what to say, and he's always having these like big grand declarations. He's always supportive. He's always there in a crisis when you need him, up until the point like when he's not. And there were other things to do with the plot where towards the end you kind of have to suspend your disbelief a little bit. Everything that's happening is so very convenient, and there are so many, I'm not saying there are so many other ways to solve the situations, but nobody thinks about whether there is another way or a sensible way or a easier, less dramatic way to get out of a situation. Everyone jumps to the first conclusion and you You just kind of have to accept it and roll with it to make it plausible. But there is one bit that really stuck out to me because of how perfect Bastian is throughout this entire thing. Obviously, we get to a point where there's tension and like it kind of breaks this whole like perfect trajectory that we've been on. And he starts to find out some of the things that she's been withholding from him. And the way that he reacts is just so out of character in comparison to the way that he's reacted about literally every other single thing that's happened, especially given the circumstances of the thing that he finds out. And there are things that he finds out at other points in the books that like doesn't faze him at all. And like there is a reason why, like a reason is given why he reacts the way that he does, but I just feel like it's not realistic given everything that he's done to this point in the book. There's also points in the plot where the main character takes the most dramatic action. She's like, well, there's no other way to solve this. I have to do this thing right now. That's like super dramatic. Obviously I'm being big because of spoilers, and there are so many other things that she could do in that situation. And one of the things, because when I was talking about how much I was enjoying this book, like still I gave it 4 stars. I loved it, but I do definitely agree, like there is not necessarily miscommunication in here, but a lot of things could be solved by communicating. So it's not like there's a lack of communication. I mean, there is, but there's reasons why people aren't communicating. But given how some of the characters act, I feel like it would be far more sensible and solve so many problems if they then decided to communicate instead of going down different routes that ended in more dramatic, like life-threatening scenarios. I was wrong about this following the structure of Raven Kennedy's books, by the way. It does, like, obviously it comes to a climax and it does end on a little bit of a cliffhanger, but it's nowhere near as dramatic as the end of the Plated Prisoner books tend to be. That being said though, I have gone straight into book 2. I literally said fuck my TBR and I started book 2. So I finished book 1 in bed this morning. I only had like 20 pages left, which if I'd have known I only had 20 pages, I would have stayed up and finished them last night. And now I'm 2 chapters into book 2, which is a touch of poison, I think. So I don't currently own a paperback of this book, but because, like I said, it's a nice indie, like weighty paperback copy, as soon as I get to a point in this book where I know that the quality is the same or like I'm enjoying it as much as book 1, I'm literally just gonna order myself a paperback so that I have it, because we know what it's like with indie books being, especially fantasy romance, being picked up these days and then being taken off Amazon with like absolutely no warning. I did say the last time I spoke to you as well about, I can't remember how I phrased it exactly, but I said that I was going to talk about this as a series. But Ash, who is the patron who put this in my Patreon jar, I am mad at you because you have forced me down a chaotic route that I absolutely never, ever, ever would have gone down knowingly. So essentially this is like book 12 in a series. I don't know if it is exactly book 12, but it's set in the same world as a bunch of Claire Sager's other books. And I came to this realization quite quickly when a pirate came into A Kiss of Iron, and I was like, oh no, Claire Sager's other books are about pirates. And then I looked it up because essentially when I went to Rare, I got a bookmark with the book, and on the back it says like enter Claire's Saberverse or something like that, and it has all of her books listed on the back. And this book that I've read, A Kiss of Iron, is the first one on the bookmark. So I knew that it was part of an extended series, but I didn't look into it, and I did just kind of assume that I was reading book 1. When that pirate turned up, I decided to actually look into it. So in publication order and also in order of the way that the story goes, you should read the pirate books first. There's then like a bunch of standalones, I think, that are in the same vein as the, you know, like the Married to Magic series by Elise Cover. So they have names like Slaying the Vampire King, like that kind of vibe. And then we have the Shadows of the Tenebris Court series. And it's not major spoilers, like reading this pretty much spoils the couple in the pirate series, but if you read the synopsis of the first book in the pirate series, it gives 2 names, and with it being a romance series, like, you know, those are the 2 names that you're gonna care about. So it's not like it's major spoilers, it's just that if I'd have known, I never ever would have started at this point in the series, because it does have crossover with books in the, because the pirate series isn't finished, I think there's 1 book left to come out, so they do cross over in the plot. And so now that I'm going into the sequel, this sequel is also going to cross over with the plot of the pirate books. So if I'd have gone into this knowing that it was like such an extended world, I never ever would have started with like the third point in the series. That being said, Claire Sager does have a list of reading orders on her Instagram. It's like pinned on her Instagram, and there's multiple ways that you can read it. So you can read it in publication order, you can read it in order of things actually happening in the world, or you can read it in Claire's chaotic reading order, which apparently makes sense to her, even though it shouldn't. Doesn't make sense to me either, but it starts with the Kiss of Iron, so that is the one that I'm now apparently following. I am embracing chaos for the first time in my life, and I feel real weird about it. That's where I'm currently at with reading. My TBR is going to suffer for this, but honestly, like, I'm sick of reading a book that I really enjoy and wanting to continue on with the series, and then being like, oh no, I can't because I'm behind on my TBR, which valid. What just vibrated in my pocket? Why is my phone vibrating? But yeah, I'm sick of being like, oh, I really want to get back to this series, but being held up by my TBR. And while I have no actual like book club obligations that are pending, like that need to be done very, very soon, I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to read book 2 and I will deal with the consequences later. And by later, pretty soon actually, because I want my TBR cleared by the end of December. Oh, the third book in this trilogy does come out on New Year's Eve as well, so it's perfect timing for me to catch up and then read the final book in the trilogy, have spoiled all of the pirate books for myself, and then work myself backwards through the series, I guess.
Cold enough to make you shiver, but not cold enough to snow. Cold enough to know it's winter, perfect time to say our first hello. Scarves and sweaters bundled up in cotton, knowing names that wouldn't be forgotten, laughing over our own sense of humor underneath the Christmas lights that glow. I'm glad I got to know you better. We've come so far since that December. Who would have known I would have made my best friend on that?
Yesterday was great. Thank you for asking. Not that you did, but in case you were interested, the afternoon tea was really nice, and then we spent some time at the Christmas markets, did a bit of Christmas shopping, and just had a really nice day out. It's been a couple of months since we've been into York because we've been going into Leeds because I've had some appointments, and while we've been there, we've just been taking advantage of the fact that we're already there and doing our like shopping and browsing in Leeds instead of York, which is our usual. So because I was out all day yesterday, I have been working today, which is sad. Like literally, as somebody who works from home, working on a weekend should make no difference to me. As long as I get my days off, it shouldn't matter what days I'm actually working. But I swear there's just something in the air of Saturday that just feels different, even though I'm not somebody who's like in a normal 9 to 5, or I don't go out and drink on the weekend, so it's not like that is affecting like the rhythm of my week. But it just feels really miserable working on a Saturday. And my Sunday has actually been derailed a little bit now, because y'all know Sundays are sacred to me. I do nothing on Sundays, but I do have to go out tomorrow morning and pick up my car, which is exciting. I'm just sad that it's being done on a Sunday and also in such miserable weather. But this does also mean that I'm gonna have to put the trial baking for the cheesecake, the Christmas cheesecake, probably into next week, because by the time I get back, because I'm gonna stop at my dad's on the way back, I'm not going to want to spend a good couple of hours baking all of the different layers of this cake. So in between all of this other stuff, I have actually been reading because I'm obsessed with this series. It's just so easy to fall into and I'm so compelled. And that is honestly the best thing about this series. But I am 21% of the way through. I was supposed to be going for a run today, but the weather is the worst. Like, this is the worst weather we get in the UK. It's raining, but that's not the issue. It's that the sun has not risen today. Like, it's been dark, it's been grey the entire day. There's no kind of reprieve from it. It's just cold and grey and like damp and miserable. So I was supposed to be running, and I actually saved my run for today because this is the first day that we've had a temperature like above 0 in the morning, and I knew it was getting a little bit warmer, but I ain't going out in this. I am gonna get soaked, even if it's not raining, I'm gonna get soaked from all of the splashback from the wet floor, and that is just, I'm just not about that life. So I'm gonna hop on my spin bike for 30 minutes, but before that I'm gonna read for another 30 minutes because I'm just obsessed with my book. Obviously I can't tell you too much about this one because it's book 2 and it does continue. There's like a gap of about a week between book 1 and book 2, but it does also kind of follow straight on, which I mean, if you've read it, you'll know how both things can be true. The only things I can really tell you about this is that it is dual perspective, which is cool because we now get a little bit of a glimpse into Bastian's mind. We also have more tension in this relationship, as if we needed any more from book 1. The particular problem that has arisen from the climax of book 1 has added so much angst to the relationship, and it is so obvious. And normally when stuff like this happens in books, when we have angst created by things like this specific instance in this book, I roll my eyes and I'm like, oh, of course that's what's gonna happen. But I love it. I don't know why. I just like this book. I can't even tell you guys that it's the best thing I've ever read. I'm just having a really, really good time. And like I've been saying, I just want to roll with that feeling because it doesn't happen super often for me anymore. So I'm going to read for about 30 minutes, get my workout in, maybe tidy up a little bit because with me working, like being out yesterday, working today, and then tomorrow I am going to be out, especially in the morning. I don't want to spend my entire Sunday doing stuff. My house is not as clean as it usually is by this point on the weekend because I usually do the bulk of my cleaning on Saturday morning. So maybe I'll have a little bit of a whip round before I make dinner, and then I have Crafty Corner with my patrons this evening where we will be, well, I will be trying to catch up on this because they posted week 6 of the crochet along this week on Wednesday, so it's 4 days ago. This is the last panel of week 2, so I'm behind.
Which was him as the shooter, they're not, it's like 5 years ago, to find $10,000.
I also need to have some lunch, but I'm not really eating today. And I see, so it puts, I've got right, and I've got a snow fairy intergalactic bubble bar.
It's like you in the haunted house. I was just gonna say that. It's you in the haunted house. Big blonde blow.
Danny, you made no impression on me at all.
Come on, move over. Go on. Go over there. Go on. Thank you. So many things have happened today, all of which you know absolutely nothing about. But the important thing is that I did go and get my car. I was intended to film a little bit of footage, but I mean, it's a car. And I know I've talked about it a lot in this vlog, but realistically, a lot of people are not that interested in cars, myself included. I'm excited because it's new, and oh baby, does she drive like a dream. Like, this is a serious upgrade for me in terms of cars. Like, my car was old. My car was 17 years old, and because this is a 10-year-old car that I bought, but the upgrade in technology in the 7 years between those two cars, and also I think that the car that I've got is like a slight upgrade from the model of car that I had in the past anyway. Like, I got buttons for everything. Like, nobody needs that many buttons on the inside of a vehicle, but I got them all. I got all of them. So I sorted all of that out, and I got home kind of early afternoon, and then I got excited and took Curtis out for a drive as well. I then carried on making my beef stew. I gave myself a Sunday evening blowout because I have a shark flex style that I've been playing around with. So we'll see if it lasts. I don't think it's going to. I think I need some like better styling products to hold it in place, like when I'm styling it from wet. But it looks really cute and will continue to look cute probably until I go to bed, and it will look shit in the morning. And aside from that, I've read a little bit. I've watched an episode of Interview with a Vampire. I have finished week 2 of my crochet along. So I started week 3, the first row of which, or the first part of which, is the candy cane panels. Hopefully I will catch up even further. The amount of time it took me to just make a final one of these panels for the end of week 2 was actually ridiculous. But we will see in next week's vlog, because this is pretty much the marking the end of this one. In terms of reading, I haven't finished anything else, but while I was doing my hair earlier, I took the opportunity to listen to some more of Wheel of Time. I have now almost finished the prologue, which you may think, how have you not finished the prologue already? In single speed, the prologue is 3 hours and 45 minutes. I have 31 minutes left in single speed, so a little over 15 minutes because I'm listening to it on 1.8. So that should be done on my walk with Brie in the morning. But I did realize that including today, there's 15 days until the live show, and I have 16 hours and 8 minutes of the audiobook. So I now need to be listening to at least an hour a day to be able to get through that. So from next week, I am going to be getting my ass in gear regarding Knife of Dreams as well. And I am still on a roll with my little Romantasy I have over here, which I'm also going to be carrying into next week. I'm hitting a point now where my interest in the book itself is not waning, but because I had like a real burning desire to read and all I wanted to do was read, that's kind of tapering off a little bit. Hopefully that won't slow my progress with this too much, because this isn't on my TBR, so I kind of need to get back to that. But I'm currently 37% of the way through, which is 255 pages. So I've only read 50 pages today, but I read pretty much 200 pages yesterday. 150. I'm reading it reasonably quickly for me, especially because it doesn't feel like I'm dedicating a lot of time to reading. So I will continue with that next week, and I will finish that next week. And hopefully I'll also manage to squeeze in one more book for November, because I think that might be my 5th book of the month, which isn't a lot for me. That's like half of what I normally read. But for the first half of the month, I read a little bit when I was in Egypt, and then absolutely nothing while I was filming Shelve It or Scrap It. So like, I'm not overly surprised. But that does bring us to the end of this week's vlog, because I'm just gonna watch another episode of Interview with the Vampire while I crochet. Speaking of Interview with the Vampire, actually though, this show is really annoying because it's equal parts extremely compelling and also pretty boring. I think that for the most part the acting is really good, and I love the tension between the romantically involved characters. Louis and Lestat, like the drama, the acts, like the toxicity of their relationship, I have always loved, like in the movie and also in the TV show. But then I think that the plot does get pretty boring sometimes, and some things I just don't care about. But I'm gonna watch episode 5 of that while I do a little bit more crochet anyway, and then I'm gonna get in bed, do some reading and get some sleep, because I have quite a stacked week ahead of me next week. I have tickets for Wicked, which I'm very excited about. Tons of people went on opening weekend, but that's just not my vibe, and I'm going on Wednesday, and that is still a little bit too close to release for my comfort, because it's still going to be really busy, but I need to see it. So we're going seeing that on Wednesday, and I have like a bunch of live shows, 24-hour readathon. Christmas decoration day is next week. I need to make that cheesecake. I'm probably going to be doing a whole bunch more crafting, so stay tuned. I guess if you enjoyed this vlog, because I feel like it's going to be in a pretty similar vein, but I do hope you guys have enjoyed this vlog if you've made it this far, because I think it is a little bit of a lengthy one as usual. And if you have, please don't forget to like if you liked it and subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you will go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.